Welcome to the Decentralized Opportunity podcast. This is a weekly podcast discussing innovative ideas in business and technology from unconventional and often overlooked sources. I'm one of your hosts, Tanner Lytle, here with my other host,
Wyatt Carson. Hello.
Hey. So, monumental time for us. Episode
Monumental.
number
Massive.
10. Yep,
Number
we're
10.
double digits. Woo!
Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, so just such a small percentage of podcasts actually get past, I think, number 5, let alone into the double digits. So I really feel like we've accomplished something by sticking with it these last about 3 months or so.
Heck yeah. It's been awesome. And I've fallen like head first into podcasting. I'm obsessed with it now. It's so much fun. You know, from buying my mic. I've never had a boom arm or anything like that in my office. It's weird. But I really have enjoyed it. And even, you know, the engagement we get, the comments, it's been really fantastic. So we started this kind of hoping, and we agreed. We said, let's do like 25 episodes. And if we don't like it, if it's not working, et cetera, we can drop it. But let's give it a solid, college try. And I don't know about you, but episode 10, I'm loving it and super excited to go further.
Yeah, no, this is just every week I look forward to it. I'm excited for it. And the best thing about it is it's just a conversation, with my friend, or we've done interviews, and my gosh, it's just so neat to just have these in-depth conversations there. And also just trying to get things that I've been thinking about a long time out to the world in somewhat of a coherent way. I know I'm not always the most coherent person in the world.
No.
There's a lot of
Tanner,
rambling.
you do have this. You do occasionally, and that's kind of what prompted this podcast. And I appreciate it about you is you kind of sometimes need this like brain vomit dump, and but sometimes out of that brain vomit dump comes a little nugget, and it's pretty awesome. Which it brings us to why we're kind of here and what we wanted to do for our special 10th episode. So we focus on talking about entrepreneurship opportunities, typically in a rural, more decentralized area. We even had that fantastic review you mentioned. It's been great. But for the episode 10, we thought we'd change it up a little bit and talk about why Tanner and I are here, why we're doing this. And we've alluded to it with Founders University talk and et cetera. But, what we're really doing here and what kind of prompted us. So, Tanner, give us a quick synopsis.
Synapses. Yeah.
Synapsis.
So for years, I always felt like I never had any good ideas for companies or anything like that. But one of the big things that I could always do was help other people. So Alex and Dave, who were from Hulu's, I was very fortunate or honored, I should say, that they chose me to come for when they had an idea, and we brainstormed for a long time. And I love helping those things. I love helping people develop businesses. So when we had an opportunity to start our own little podcast and talk about business, man, that's just right in line with what I've always loved, I've been passionate about. So really just aligning a passion with trying to help people has been just such an incredible thing.
And it's
so
rewarding too, right?
Extremely rewarding.
I think that's a huge attraction to it all. But sorry, go ahead.
No, it's great. So so with this podcast, we like to think about all these ideas that we have had boiling in our heads for a long time, whether it's about products or customers or marketing and all sorts of these different topics that we'll dive into. But also it's really getting to understand and learn other people's journeys and things like that. And that's been fantastic. And then help building, the puzzle in my head a little bit better of how to build a better business, essentially. So that's been one of the first things that we decided. Well, let's put ourselves out there a little bit and make a podcast. But also at the same time, like I said, I never really had good ideas for businesses before. I feel like there's always all these entrepreneurs and startup founders and things like that have a million ideas. They're like, oh, and I can start this and I can do this. I always think about the episode from The Office where Michael Scott keeps saying like he'll start even more paper companies once his one paper company goes out. I've never been that person. Most of the businesses, even the first company I was a part of, Game On, that wasn't my idea. that was someone else's, like, oh, we play a lot of Magic, let's do a game store. And I've really helped, try to create from someone else's idea. Well, a few months ago, I had a dream about a business idea, and it was very, very rare for me to actually have this. And I woke up, it's like, you know what? I think there might be something here. And so I immediately kind of scheduled a time with Wyatt, and I was like, we need to have a talk. And we went over the idea, and we'll talk about it here just, over the course of this episode. But it just felt like, there was enough connections of all these different things that happened that really just aligned and clicked in my head of like, hey, there's an opportunity here. Let's refine this. So again, going with the whole idea of decentralized opportunity, here's a couple guys, one in Southwest Nebraska, one in Omaha, to build something potentially. So, and there's nothing real 100% yet, but there's again, this glimmer of an idea that we're really hoping over the course of the next few months to really flesh out and learn and develop and see if it could be something. So I guess you want to kind of kick off to the next step of what that idea might be.
Yeah. So right before we started this podcast, I looked up on my phone, scrolled all the way through text to see when you messaged me, because it was really kind of a funny blindside. I didn't know how to take this. It was July 2nd. So we've been doing this for 6 months, Tanner. I know. Yeah. You see, yeah, I had the same realization. I was like, oh my God, what have we done in 6 months? But anyways, it's been fantastic. And Tanner, literally texted me out of the blue. He's like, hey, can I pass something by you? I have a glimmer of a business idea. And, we met and we did our thing, and, I was whatever. And I went and did some research and doing some Googling. And, for those of you who don't know my day job, I'm a business consultant. And I've worked with a lot of smaller businesses like this before. Well, not like startups, but so I did some research and some marketing stuff. And I was like, holy crap, there's something to this idea. And I told him that. I was like, hey, this kind of has legs, so let's talk more. And we kept building it up. But and then Tanner got us into Founders University. I still don't even know how, but essentially we could take this idea and formulate it and take this class and learn from these amazing experts and kind of formulate it into a real product. And that product we really wanted to focus on was something that helped people who wanted to start a business in a more rural, or really anywhere online, who wanted to start a business, to start building something that would work for them and give them some of that knowledge and access to tools and dashboards that you can't get without some serious firepower, some other very expensive type of software out there, or several of them. And we wanted to compact it and produce this product that someone in rural India or McCook, Nebraska could say, hey, I have an idea, and begin formulating it and begin actually starting to build and run a business. So Tanner, we had a big problem with that though. None of us could build a complex system piece of software like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we should discuss the actual idea before we go into it.
Please.
So the idea for the business essentially is a dynamic business plan / business management platform. And the idea that I've always had is, one is it's so easy to get lost in the weeds of day-to-day business that you lose sight of the big picture. You're working hard, you're just trying to service customers, you're putting out fires, you're doing all these things. And before you know it, one, you have no idea where you are because you just put your head up because you finally got your head above water from all that struggle. And then you're just, where am I going? Where am I in the big sense of things? And I'll share a little story real quick of just a little bit about my background in business. So the first company we started was a company called Game On LLC, Game On Games, just Game On. But it was originally founded or invested in because of a business plan competition. And the whole story, like I was just saying, the business idea wasn't my idea. We were sitting with my friends. One of my good buddies, Cody, came over. We used to play games all the time. We used to do Magic the Gathering booster drafts in his basement. And he heard about
Grade A
this.
nerds.
Yeah, just heard about this this Hormel family business plan competition. It was the first one of its kind here in McCook, and the grand prize was $25,000 investment in your company, which this is 2008, I believe. 2007 or 2008. I'll have to look here. I can actually tell you. I have my LinkedIn open. It was 2007, so June of 2007, when this came up. And he's like, "We should enter. What should we do?" And we're like, "I don't know. I don't know how to run a business." I was repairing computers at the time, and one of my friends, Cyprian, was just, I think he worked at the radio station some and played a lot of World of Warcraft. I also played a lot of World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Say, let's own up to both sides here, Dan.
Yep.
Come on.
So we decided, well, why don't we do a game store? We like playing cards. We like doing these things. There's nothing like that in the town. And so we kind of all had a little research project. We did it. I ended up having to go out of state for a wedding. So all the graphics and the presentation stuff we put together in the business plan that we put together, and we didn't hear anything back. They were like, "Oh, if by this date you're going to hear, okay, you're going to hear that you're in the finals." Heard nothing. Okay, assume we didn't get in. Sure enough, we get a call. They're like, "Oh my goodness, we're so sorry. You made it to do a presentation. It's in like a week and a half." And I had to go out of state. This is where I was going out of state. So we had to put the presentation together in like 2 days or something. So I was making graphics. We're doing all this stuff. Tried to brainstorm names for the company, all these different things. Game On was actually to me was a Wayne's World reference from when they're playing hockey in the street. And they're like, car, game on, game on. Okay, so the logo is like a speech bubble of them yelling, "Game On." So that was the original iteration of that. So we got all this stuff together. Time comes, we go to the college where they're holding these presentations, and we do our thing. We made a little video. We had graphics, the PowerPoint slide that we did, and everyone else who presented, we thought they had it in the bag. Ours was terrible. These people have it. And then just somehow we won. And I guess they saw that there was, a spark there that we didn't necessarily recognize at the time, or we just weren't too confident, but we were excited. We're like, yeah, we get to do this. And then the reality set in, oh crap, we have to do this. And so over the course of time, we really made this business work. We started just with one location, quickly grew, moved it to another. We opened a second store. I started in McCook, opened the second store in Kearney, and then eventually opened one in North Platte, and then one in Grand Island. And the company still goes strong today, even though I left back officially day-to-day operations. I left in 2016, but I ended up selling my stake of the company in 2019. But during that time, and as I went through doing some other help, with one of my great mentors with his IT business, and helped him reshape and learned a lot of different things, started realizing the pitfalls of what I was dealing with over the course of the 10 years where I worked, because I think I told you this, I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck because I wasn't consistently getting a paycheck.
Yeah. Yep.
I would just donate all of my time essentially to this business entity, working 100-hour weeks, just nonstop. Even when I wasn't at the store, I was putting out fires through messages and all the community groups and things like that, just always working. And I realized, and this was through a book, I can't remember, by Mike Michalowicz. I can't remember which one of his books, but he talked about building a business that becomes some money gobbling monster. And it just, no matter what you do, you just keep feeding it and it keeps consuming it, but it never really rewards you, really never pays. And so the idea of the business that we always want, that we're trying to build now, is it's a business that you can run and not a business that runs you. And so with that, I never, when I had the store, really understood the broad picture. That business plan that we made sat in a drawer. It never evolved with us. We never really thought about the business as a whole. It was always, just pieces of where we wanted to go next, these different things. But there was all these loose ends and tied things that just were not making us this money printing machine, but this money eating machine. And so the idea for the product that we have is if you could gather information, and it's a beautiful time for this now because everything that you run is online in some capacity. You're
Yeah.
doing online banking, online bookkeeping. You can have your products online. You have all your customers and digital things. You interact with them online. The world now, even with remote work and things like that, a lot of your employees are online. So it's a new paradigm to where you can actually collect a lot of this information within a kind of a central repository and generate the right instrument panel for you to kind of pilot your business essentially. And that's what we're trying to build. And the other really cool thing is we're really on this new cusp with AI services, specifically language-based ones, to where you can generate information that isn't just a table where it's like, okay, put this number in this part, this this name and this thing, but actually structure something that reads a lot more concisely, pulling other bits of information and being a lot more useful and pertinent. Because if someone generates a business plan for you and it's just a stock form, it's just boilerplate, you're never going to read it.
Nope. If you go and Google business plan template right now, you will get thousands, hundreds of thousands of results of fantastic templates that people spent tons of time and energy in doing this. But at the end of the day, they're made, they're put into a 3-ring binder and they're put on a shelf and they collect dust, and they're never relevant again unless you're a company trying to get, funding or something like that, going through seed rounds. But yeah, it becomes a dead document.
Yeah, you tend to look for just key pieces of information, but it never really tells a story. And so what we would love to create, the vision for this is really, one, giving you that instrument panel where you can run the day-to-day, because that is still the most important part of your business, is doing the work, but also never losing sight of that big picture and having it put together in a way that you'll actually find it useful and want to go to it. So if you get a new business plan, let's say it generates one for you every week or every month, you don't want it to be so mundane that you'd never want to check it. You want to be excited to see the differences, where you're growing, your potential for where you could go based off of real information and those things. And so that's the product that we're trying to build at its heart. And the other thing you touched on a little bit too earlier was, it always feels like either big businesses have access to resources or tools or information that other people don't. And this is a little bit of a chip on my shoulder coming from a rural area where you really always have to scrounge for things, irrelevant of how big you are or how much money you have. A lot of times you just don't have the same level of access that other people do in more metropolitan, centralized areas, hubs of resources. So by giving access to a lot of the same tools and information, high-powered information, you're going to give a lot of these people who wouldn't have the same amount of opportunities, because let's say they are working in a small business in a rural area, they have many different things working against them in some sense. If you give them the right tools and power, they can use that information to, just grow and create something that's valuable to their community, to themselves, to the people around them. And I feel like that's really like the core mission, is giving access and opportunity, equal opportunity in its truest sense, to anyone who has a problem to solve and wants to reach out customers and things like that.
Yeah, and that's a big piece of the backbone of our idea, is that a successful business is ran off of data. My quote I quote all the time is, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but no one's entitled to their own facts. You can make solid, sound business decisions off of facts and data. Whereas if you use emotion, thought, gut feeling, sometimes that could pan out for you, but your better bet's putting the data to work for you. And an AI-based data system can connect various things, your customer relationship software, your sales software, your HR software and financial software, to mix that information, do the right calculations in the background, and tell you if something is changing too. If you are entering a new period, if you have excess to invest, all of these things, they're data indicators that exist. It's just sometimes people don't know how to pull that data or present it appropriately. And like you said, with the advent of more text-based AI functions out there, a lot of those business calculations that are complicated and confusing can take your instant data and tell you, hey, this is where you're at. If you have a goal, you want to go here, here's what you need to do. Or, hey, blinking light, you're running out of money. All of these things will help you run your business successfully.
Yeah, and there's how many businesses, especially small companies, really actually understand their numbers in their truest sense. They might know the big P&L statement part of it, and they can see, oh, we've been making a profit, but they may not understand what their true customer acquisition costs are, or how much their products are costing them in terms just to maintain them. We had a great discussion actually recently where they were talking about just software development, and you end up spending just in maintenance of whatever your software is around 10 to 15% of year of whatever it costs you to develop that. And you need all of these different factors just to understand how much overhead is true up there, and then where you can make those, again, right informational based decisions to keep yourself lean, agile, and make these turning points, because most businesses fail. It's some astounding. It's 90% Do you know the actual number? Do you have Google
I've heard different variations, but it's always in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, so first year, some crazy amount, then to go over 5 years or 10 years and all these things. So your odds of success are so low. So if we can have a product that even just helps just get you over that tipping point to where you maybe couldn't have made it, or you could have made it, or is going to be a huge factor. And the other thing too is to understand, if you can understand your real numbers, you might make that moonshot. And then once you start getting that real-time information and you give it a certain amount of time, you realize, okay, this isn't going to work out. Before I spend another 6 months or a year spending all of my savings trying to make this business happen, let me pull back, either pivot to a whole new idea, or let's close this one down and find that next one before I go to zero. And that's the other big point, that because it's so quick how long you can spend on a business and then not get anywhere. And just like you were saying, when we first came up with this idea, it was 6 months ago of just a shell, and it's refined a lot since it was originally came out. Because of course my ideas were very broad and dream. We want to have investors and community and, all these different aspects. And now we've just been distilling it. Yeah. And I know we have a lot more to go too, but just having the ability to understand your business and its essence and the big picture and have the information is just valuable. And I don't really know a tool that is accessible to people to do that.
Yep. And you threw out a bunch of acronyms and things, but it's another piece of the puzzle is that one of the main factors for businesses failing is lack of business knowledge. And that's nothing personal against the owners, the founders, anything like that. There's a lot of things you have to know as a business owner. You need to know marketing. You need to know finance, bookkeeping, all those facets of finance, AP, AR, and then let alone to build your product and reach out to customers. You have to do everything. You have to know everything. And it's so much. Another piece of this is we can utilize these report outs and these updated AI-based business plans to teach as well. How many people can say they can actually look at a P&L and understand what it is? Profit and loss statement. Not many people can look at a P&L and understand the story it's trying to be told. It's not that simple, but you can learn, and that might help you be more successful in the future and, give everyone the fighting chance they have, whether they have access to that information or not. Not everyone lives in Silicon Valley, but everyone at one time has thought of a business idea. So.
Exactly. And when we were first coming up with this, there was a ton of friction points on just the creation of your business, right? Putting all these things in, what type of product you're going to offer, how are you going to connect all these things? And we originally thought, okay, well, we'll have all these training videos, we'll have all these things. Maybe we'll have some work with educators or different people who teach like business plan courses or different things they could use this software. But with the recent changes with AI, you can essentially have a teacher or business consultant kind of at your beck and call just through an icon. Yeah. So it'll remove so much of the friction of you needing to ask a question. You can just ask the question. And we've been playing with GPT a lot. We talked about it on a previous episode, and we actually, just as a
So
little
cool.
side tangent, we had our Discord, and it's a group of our friends, and we just talk all the time. And I was playing around this past weekend with building a movie script with us as characters, and I sent it to the guys. You want to kind of go over? I know you had a lot of fun reading
Man,
it.
it cracked me up. I sat on my couch ignoring everything to read the script that the AI spit out. And it took us, Tanner and I and our group of friends, like he said, we chat every day for years now, and turned us into superheroes. And don't get me wrong, like, it wasn't the best script you've ever read in your life. Okay. This looked like a talented junior high kid, maybe not so talented high schooler wrote a screenplay based off of it, but it was hilarious. Each of us got superpowers and personalities, and it created all of that. How long did it take to produce that script, Tanner?
I did everything in like 30 minutes on my phone, and most of it was me trying to get stuff copy pasted from a Notion doc to a Notion doc from my
Crazy.
phone and getting it formatted. So, yeah, just a matter of minutes, you can have a 3-act screenplay
Yeah,
written.
and it was significantly long. This wasn't one scene. This was a
And
full detail.
I asked it to introduce a heroine, and it came up with a name and all these different things. And yeah, it was funny, and it really held to certain personalities and stuff too. It had me as kind of the whiny complainer, and someone else is the cool guy, and someone else is the little egotistical person, and it
Someone had
added
a
all
leather
the
jacket. Yeah.
yeah, the costumes were ridiculous because
It detailed everything. It was so
yeah.
impressive. And in 30
So-
minutes, probably 20, it spat that out and made my night. That was hilarious. But that's the kind of power. That's just a small example of what this can do. If it can create a 3-act movie based off of personalities of our friends group in Discord, imagine what it can do for someone who wants to better understand where their business is or where it's going. That's the value in this, and that's why we really started to dive deep into this AI.
Yeah, and the prompts that I gave it were super broad. It was just a broad stroke, and it gave out really entertaining answers to what it is.
Yep.
But the power of this really comes into when you can have very defined, specific things that you can put into it. And as you build these data sets over time, so they'll just become more and more accurate once it understands you a lot more, a lot of your numbers, your understanding. It's just going to keep refining into it over time to better analyze you, predict you, and show you where you're at. Again, where you're at in your business. And eventually we would love to use a lot of this technology to help with forecasting. So you can, rather than just moonshotting numbers saying like, oh, we're doing 500,000 in gross sales this year, 2023, we're going to do 800,000 without any real plan of how you're going to get
Sure you
there.
are. Yep.
Yeah. So if your goal is, and where I feel like a lot of this technology is heading, if you want to get to 800,000, it's going to help you work your way back from where you want to be to where you are now.
Yep.
And these are the steps that you really need to go, because again, how many businesses really understand how much money they should be putting into marketing? How much focus should they be having on, customer success, customer retention? How do they know where their churn points are, how long they keep a customer? If you're running a subscription business and your average business customer falls off after 7 months, let's say, how would you know if someone's actually been subscribed for 6? You need to be reaching out to that person and re-engaging with them so they continue to move on. So that number just keeps going longer and longer, and you keep making more and more money and becoming more and more profitable in your business so you can stay afloat.
Yeah. So Tanner, this was an amazing dream 6 months ago, but where are we today? Like I said, we did join Founders University. Somehow you magically got us into this program 2 weeks before it started. And that is a 12-week program designed to teach founders how to build an MVP, their minimum viable product, to start prepping presentations for venture capital and crazy beyond things. And we're being taught by some amazingly talented individuals. But where are we today, Tanner? Where are we with DEOP, which comes from Decentralized Opportunity, which is also the name of our podcast, which is also the name of our product idea we're spinning around and working on right now. But where are we at today, Tanner?
Yeah, so we're right now just in the information gathering, learning, distilling, prototyping phase. So we are taking everything that we have kind of talked about, understanding what technology's out there, what resources we can do, and we're putting together kind of a wireframe prototype of what this product could look like. And in essence, we want it to be both kind of a web-based app, so you can log in and have access to, again, those dashboards, your documentation, your financials, as well as like that big picture business plan that's generated for you, but also a mobile app, because I am on my phone all the time, and it's a struggle for me to get off my phone.
Oh,
So, and
we all
especially if
we
you're,
all are. We all
yeah,
are.
and if you're a business owner, and let's say you are out and you're working on stuff, you're out on the sales floor, going to suppliers, you're doing whatever you need to do, you're going to be out and about. You're not just going to be sitting on your desk. At any point, if you get a new piece of information, you need to look up something, you just want to see where you're at. You should have the capability of doing that at your desk or on your phone on the go. So both a web-based app and a mobile app is kind of the goal of what we're designing for this. And then both you and I are not technical people. Um, I have a background of more design and sales and things like that, and you have that operation business background that really gets those two pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
But where we're at right now, we don't have a technical person. But what's great is there's so many no code tools or different things like that that really help us kind of qualify an MVP product to something that we can launch to customers. So we're really on the stage to where getting everything ready. So once we are ready to get it built, we'll have everything to slot those Lego pieces kind of in to do that.
Exactly. Well said. That was well
And then
described.
the last part, and you can touch on this part, is we're really just trying to talk to a lot of people and get feedback on what sounds good, useful, or maybe just not at all. Because before we spend a lot of time and money and effort into building features, we want people to use them.
That's exactly where I was headed. And a big reason for this podcast is it forces us to learn as we are researching information every week to talk about a new entrepreneur, new startups around the world, all these fascinating things, interviewing people. We're learning and we're gathering this information. We're gathering those pain points of starting a business, especially in a rural area. You don't live in Silicon Valley or New York. What are the pain points you feel? And that's been fascinating to us. So we want to do this right. We don't want to rush anything. We don't want to burn ourselves out, but we are working diligently planning this, wireframing it, getting all of this backbone planning, the KPIs, the information in the background done, because we want to do this right. We want to build an awesome program that genuinely helps people. And that's probably the one reason I actually signed on to do this with Tanner, is because he wasn't telling me he wanted to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. He wanted to genuinely make something that was going to help people, because he's experienced the pain himself. And that's something I've always been near and dear to my heart, is actually providing value, especially for people who want something different in their life, who want a different change in career paths, or maybe start their own business. Those people need all the help they can get because the deck's stacked against them. And Tanner and I genuinely want to make something that people will find valuable and propel them to the next level. So that's what we're doing. That's what Decentralized Opportunity is about. That's what DEOP is about. That's why we keep talking about AI and all of these various facets of operations, because we're dealing with all this stuff on a daily basis as well. And we want to learn. We're not the experts, the world's leading experts. We're learning and trying to solve for pain points. That's what we're working at.
Yeah, and I also feel like we're really in a moment of time too, where this is more critical than ever. Because we've been talking about how cool a lot of these AI things are, but we also touched on a little bit how that's going to change the landscape for people's career opportunities and things like that. And in essence, one of my big thesis ideas or grand visions, or one of my big missions and motivators, is to enable people to have a little bit more control. Because if your job happens to change dramatically because of these changes in AI systems, just alone me playing with ChatGPT in my day job, I can automate or just have it do a lot of the stuff. It's crazy. Like, anything that is just a little bit like you're kind of just doing routinely, you're like, oh, I'm taking this bit of information and I'm moving it over here, it'll end up doing a lot of those things for you. So in essence, people are going to need to find other avenues of opportunity. Hence, again, our name, DOP, Decentralized Opportunity. But it'll change the landscape to where people can focus on building their own solutions, building their own customers, having the resources. Again, going back to this, not going to be some gated community for only people who can afford these things. It's going to be very accessible to people who have a dream and a problem to solve and some customers to go do it. And building a true, not just creator economy, but like a problem solver economy is where I feel like this world is really heading, and things that the robots can't do. You want the robots to work for you, not you to work for the robots or being replaced by the robots. So that's the other reason why I think now is the right time for this. Because as people are going to have more dramatic changes in their life, as the remote work has changed a lot of things, and places might be forcing people to come back to work. And they're like, you know what, that was the old me. Before I would have taken this, but now I have an idea to solve this, or now I have the opportunity to do this, and I'd rather take a chance on doing that. But now I want to take a more calculated hedge-based risk rather than just go blindly into it.
That's it. More people today of all generations are interested or actively pursuing their own startup or entrepreneurship idea. More so than any time in the world, because I think people are starting to realize that, hey, sometimes it's risky. It can be scary and dangerous and cost me a lot of money and a lot of time. But if I make it and I put in that effort, you get a bit of that control back, and you that accomplishment that you built something pretty amazing. And I'm so excited to see how many people out there want to start their own business. It's encouraging, and that kind of market only breeds more innovation. We were talking the other day. Not only is AI growing super fast, AI today looks vastly different than AI 6 months ago. That's how fast it's moving. That's how fast it's growing. And those are tools that can be harnessed and utilized for your own benefit. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. It's been a fun 6 months. I can't believe it's been 6 months, Tanner, but
yeah, my brain doesn't register that it's been that long. I think we had the discussion, and maybe I sat on it for a little while or something like that.
We had a solid break where we met and actually talked about it and did things because I didn't really know what you wanted to talk about. But I'm glad I jumped on a Zoom call with you or whatever, because it's been a fascinating ride. And we even have regular viewers of our podcast. Who would have thought we'd do that, Tanner? No one wants to listen to us.
Few people do.
I know. Amazing. Yeah. And we appreciate every one of you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like it's the last 3 months we've been really focused on just trying to build things up. And it's been a challenge because, we're both working full time, and we're giving it's their full time effort as well. So this has been a thing to do on evenings and weekends and early mornings and things like that to try to take these classes. And thankfully, the Founders University classes are at 8 p.m. on evenings. Right. So we have the opportunity to do that because they're on West Coast time.
And we all have family and children and
holidays.
And that's not sitting here to brag about, look how hard Tanner and I have been working. It's to demonstrate all of the obstacles every single person who wants to start a business. You still have to have your job. If you're in a position where you can quit for 6 months and pursue it, cool, do that. But for the average person, they'll never go off and start that entrepreneurship idea because they're afraid of sacrificing this. And I get it. Risk-based decision making is a big piece, but we're, people who actually do it and want to pursue it, they're working on the weekends. They are sacrificing sometimes, going, I can't put the kids to bed tonight. I have to do this, X, Y, Z. And you are putting in those hours and effort. And it's been a blast, is what I'm trying to say. And we have learned together so much in the last 3 months, definitely 6 months total. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, going back to how great would it be if you had a business idea, but you were unsure and you didn't want to throw everything at it right away and you want to hedge a little bit. Can you quantify and qualify your idea, get some real data points in on it, and then make that informed decision? So that's really, again, this is a product that in its end, I want to use. I want to have at my beck and call, my disposal.
Absolutely.
And it's a product I would have wished I would have had a decade ago or 15 years ago, because who knows where you could be if you would have had those tools and resources. And just going back, because I didn't have it, I had to figure things out and go through there. But the same banging my head against the wall multiple times to come to a solution, the next person doesn't have to do that, let alone I hope to not have to do that again. And that's really the goal of this company, is to build something that provides real value to people who want to start their own company, who want to be entrepreneurs. But also, it is understanding the better way to do that, so that your business doesn't run your life. Again, going back to that, one of the big things that I've been thinking about a lot is you need to, when you start these companies, you just want to do everything yourself, and you want to develop, ultimately you need to develop processes. This is why you bring in someone like a Wyatt, because he will help you get those processes out of your head and put them into paper. But if you can have a central place like our platform, like we're doing, you can trust that other people, like you can hire on employees and do those things and ensure that the job is done right. So you can do things like go on vacation, go on a long vacation, not be stressed out and taking constant phone calls while on vacation. You can really disconnect from your own companies. And that is the goal. You don't have to, again, you don't have to form the next Facebook, the next Google. There's plenty of businesses that can sustain someone's lifestyle. And again, going back to what I was talking about, the change in the world, I feel like that's really where the sweet spot's going to be in the future. It's you can solve a problem and have enough that you can live a great life doing it. So,
that's it.
Sorry
that's
for that little tirade.
No, not a tirade at all. That's exactly why we're here. That's exactly why we're doing this and trying to reach out to other people, other entrepreneurs. And you know, as kind of a small pass to the audience, people who listen to this podcast, who are interested, who catch wind of this, we want to talk to you. We're not trying to sell you anything, I promise. The most we're going to try and sell you is to come on our podcast and talk with us. But even if you just want to have conversations with us, we want to talk to people. We want to talk to those who have these dreams, who have these ideas, or who have already done those steps, and what was their experience, good or bad, positive or negative. We are in this kind of data vacuum stage right now, where we just want to absorb everyone's experiences because we just want to make them better. So that's why we're here, guys. That's why we appreciate everyone who comments on our video, on our podcast, who subscribes to us on YouTube, on Spotify, your various podcasting platforms, Apple now. That's why we do this, is because we just want to meet more people. So please reach out to us on those platforms. Let us know what you think. If you want to come on and talk, you got it. You can come talk to us. I would love to talk to anyone. But Tanner, man, what do you think? Episode 10, we spilled the beans as much as we could without finally, we've been coy about it. But we've always wanted to focus on other people, which has been awesome. So how do you feel, Tanner? Do you feel like a weight is lifted, or you're like, oh no, what did we just do? No, it's not that big of a deal. Founders U has gained us a lot of confidence, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really helped us, again, to refine what was my manifesto that was probably like 40 or 50 pages that I sent to you after, again, that longer break. That was the difference. I had the idea, and you're like, okay, write it down. And then I went away for, a month or two and came back with,
I was like, you are all over the place, dude. I need
giant mind dump.
That.
Yeah. Into this. And again, distilling it down to this part. And we're really, again, through just talking to people and figuring out their true needs and getting candid feedback on what we're thinking, we'll be able to refine it, get more and more, and make it this potent product that provides real use and real value and a good user experience and those things. And if there's a market for it, then we can work more at it. If we find that there isn't, again, just like our concept, we can then pivot, restructure, and then hopefully find something that will provide value. But yeah, I love these podcasts. I love meeting up with you every week, and it's been fantastic just trying to build this with you. So appreciate you.
Yeah, it has. So we'll be back next week for probably our Christmas episode. I don't know what that means. Probably not much. Maybe I'll wear a Santa hat. But we'll be back next week with value directed at you, the audience. We appreciate the time for us to sit here and talk about us and our journey so far. And we just hope that that continues to build as, deliverables and things that you can learn from in our own journey as we learn about your journey. So once again, thank you all. This has been a blessing. I appreciate all of you. And Tanner, I am so glad you messaged me randomly at like 10 p.m. July 2nd, because this has been a wild ride, man. So thank you guys. Tanner, sign us off.
Yep. All right. Once again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service of choice. Like, comment, and message us. Because again, like Wyatt said, we'd love to talk with you and potentially have you on the podcast. So we'll see y'all next week.